Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. The callous disregard Dr. Leonard Bones, McCoy, has for his patients in this Star Trek, the original series episode, still leaves me shaking my head. Bones, of course, was Chief Medical Officer of the USS Enterprise in Star Trek, the original series, Star Trek, the animated series, and the first 6 Star Trek movies. In Star Trek, the original series Season 1, Episode 4, The Enemy Within, a transporter accident separates Captain James T. Kirk into good and evil versions. Without his darker side, the good Kirk is weak and indecisive. Meanwhile, the evil Kirk is a dangerous menace until the two Kirks are merged back into one complete captain. The Enemy Within explores Kirk's character and how his dark side is essential but cannot be left unchecked to run amok. There are dated and disturbing elements in this early Star Trek outing, specifically evil Kirk's sexual assault of yeoman Janice Rand, that are tough to watch. However, Dr. McCoy's behavior at the end of Star Trek, the original series, The Enemy Within, always startles me. At the end of Star Trek, the original series, The Enemy Within, the frozen bodies of Lieutenant Hikaru Sulu George Takei and the USS Enterprise crewmen stranded on Alpha 177 are beamed aboard and wheeled past Dr. McCoy and Captain Kirk. Bones offers the diagnosis, severe exposure to frostbite, but I think they'll make it. But it's McCoy's dismissive tone of voice that is striking and jaw-dropping. Frostbite is a life-threatening condition, but Bones feels no sense of urgency or concern for Sulu and the others. The rescued crewman should be Dr. McCoy's first priority, but he's more interested in how the restored Captain Kirk feels. True, Kirk is the captain, and Jim is Bones' best friend. But once the captain was made whole again, Dr. McCoy should have launched into crisis management mode. The full attention of the Starship Enterprise's chief medical officer should have been on Sulu and the rescued crewmen. Instead, Bones was in no rush to care for what should have been his main priority, the starship's personnel who were at death's door. Bones' instant eyeball diagnosis when the frozen Starfleet officers are wheeled past him is, "I think they'll make it." Captain Kirk should have told McCoy that he's fine and ordered him to care for his incoming patients, and Bones' sole focus at that point should have been on the frostbitten crewmen since Kirk was no longer in danger. Despite how cold Dr. McCoy was to Sulu and the rescued USS Enterprise crewmen in The Enemy Within, Bones was an exemplary physician, and he was the model for every other doctor created by Star Trek. To me, McCoy's most compassionate moment as a doctor was in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. On a mission to rescue Commander Pavel Chekhov Walter Koenig from a 1986 San Francisco hospital, Dr. McCoy meets an elderly lady dying of kidney failure. Outraged at the primitive medical care of the late 20th century, Bones gives the woman a pill. Moments later, Bones, Admiral Kirk, Chekhov, and Dr. Gillian Taylor Catherine Hicks pass the woman in the hall, and she's elated about Bones giving her a magic pill that grew her a new kidney. Bones didn't stop to soak up the woman's gratitude, but he lived up to his Hippocratic oath and gave her a new chance at life. Bones helping the woman in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, is my favorite moment of his as a doctor, where McCoy displays the compassion he seemed to lack when frostbitten Sulu is wheeled by him in Star Trek, the original series. There are moments in Star Trek, the original series, where the crew of the USS Enterprise feels more like a tightly knit family than a Starfleet crew. Kirk with his confident swagger, Spock with his unbreakable logic, and Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy with his sharp tongue and even sharper moral compass, usually. But every so often, a classic episode reminds us that even the beloved country doctor from Georgia could cross a line, and one of those moments remains downright shocking decades later. The episode in question, an adventure that blends moral ambiguity, alien mystery, and the kind of emotional whiplash that only TOS could deliver, features Bones at his most uncharacteristically cold. Watching it today, it's hard not to flinch at just how callous he seems, especially when the stakes revolve around something he normally cherishes: the sanctity of life. The story begins when the Enterprise arrives on a planet with a curious scientific anomaly, a place where time, biology, and even consciousness behave differently. Captain Kirk, ever the explorer, directs the landing party to investigate. Bones is right there beside him, medical tricorder in hand, prepared to diagnose anything from space plagues to psychic disturbances. But what the team discovers shakes them to their cores. An alien species that exists in a fragile, almost embryonic state. Their lives are delicate, complex, and completely dependent on environmental conditions the crew doesn't yet understand. Kirk's immediate instinct is caution. Spock, as always, seeks logic in the chaos. Bones, however, seems disturbingly unmoved. Instead of seeing vulnerable alien life forms, he reacts as though he's found some sort of failed experiment, shrugging off their sensitivity and minimizing the danger the crew might pose to them. And for Bones, usually the moral heartbeat of the show, that's where the trouble begins. Bones' shocking misstep. One of the episode's most jaw-dropping moments comes when Bones makes a swift, unilateral decision to handle one of the aliens medically, despite incomplete data and clear objections from Spock. In a move that feels almost reckless, he examines the alien life form with the same casual confidence he'd apply to a human patient. But this isn't human physiology. This is something brand new, something that reacts catastrophically to even the slightest disturbance. And Bones' hands-on approach quickly causes the alien to weaken, then collapse. The camera lingers on Bones' face, not horrified, not guilty, but frustratingly dismissive. "I didn't know," he mutters, as though that excuses his failure. Kirk looks shaken. Spock looks visibly disturbed. But Bones? He just carries on, as if harming a creature he barely understood was an unfortunate but forgettable misjudgment. It's one of the rare times where his traditional bedside empathy feels completely absent. Why it still hits hard today. Part of what makes this moment stand out is how deeply it contrasts with Bones' usual role on the Enterprise. He's the emotional counterweight to Spock's logic, the conscience that grounds Kirk's impulsive leadership. He's the one who fights for the vulnerable, whether that's a sick crew member, a misunderstood alien, or a sentient rock creature. So to see him behave so indifferently, almost arrogantly, remains startling even after multiple rewatches. Modern audiences, who've come to expect episodes rich in ethical nuance, can't help but judge the scene with fresh eyes. Bones' behavior reads not as confident professionalism, but as an ethical failure. It wouldn't fly in today's Star Trek, not in Discovery, not in Strange New Worlds, not even in parody. His decision, viewed through contemporary lens, feels like a breach of first contact protocol, a disregard for scientific caution, a profound lapse in empathy. It's a rare stain on a character who typically champions compassion above all else. Spock's reaction says everything. If there was ever a sign the writers knew Bones went too far, it's Spock's response. While Spock can be cool, even aloof, he's never indifferent to life. His comment, calm, precise, and edged with disappointment, lands harder than any emotional outburst would have. He doesn't berate Bones. He doesn't accuse. He simply points out the facts. Bones acted prematurely. His assumptions were flawed. His lack of caution caused harm. This is, of course, Spock's way of saying, "You should have known better, Doctor." And coming from Spock, that's practically an emotional gut punch. The aftermath. Kirk's quiet judgment. Captain Kirk doesn't lash out at Bones, but his silence speaks volumes. Kirk values expertise, but he values accountability even more. And Bones, usually his closest confidant, has put him in an impossible position, balancing the crew's safety with the moral weight of damaging an innocent species. There's a brief but powerful moment where Kirk looks at Bones, not as a friend, not as his trusted advisor, but as a man who just made a very serious mistake. The tension is thick. Bones realizes, perhaps too late, the seriousness of what he's done. It's one of the few times Kirk and Bones feel truly misaligned. Bones does try to make it right. Sort of. To the episode's credit, Bones eventually attempts to correct his mistake. He studies the aliens more carefully, adjusts his approach, and ultimately offers a solution that helps stabilize the situation. But even then, his earlier callousness lingers over every scene. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.